Yeah, if you go up, is this related to this agenda item, or is this something different? Okay. You just state your name and your address.
My name is Patrick Hewson, 1023 Turnberry Circle, on the other side of 36. What you see there is our view. We lost half our view with the sports stable. If you look at the photo there, and the mountains behind it, which is why my wife picked the house out. It is kind of related to number 4. But
it would be great if you could save your comments. I know everybody's going to just want to hear the public hearing, and then we'll entertain comments on that agenda item, if that's okay.
Well, you're taken away from our view.
Okay.
And I'll stand up again for number 4.
Okay. Thank you. All right, consent agenda. We have minutes of the July 3rd. Can we do these together, Phyllis, or separate? And minutes from the July 17th meeting?
I abstain on the 17th.
Okay. And
I have one correction I'd like to make. On July 17th, on page 3, has my name as Anthony Stewart, and I'd like to correct that for the record, please, if I may.
Well, with that correction, do you have
Make a motion to approve the minutes of July 3rd and of July 17th, 2018.
with a motion by Anthony Stewart. Commissioner Stewart, have a second?
A second.
Okay. Second by Commissioner Malia. All in favor, minus Lisa on July 3rd, right? Or 17th, sorry, but.
Let's do votes on separate dates, maybe.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's true, right, and they weren't commissioners, okay.
I abstain from both.
Okay.
I will make a motion to approve July minutes of July 3rd.
Sounds good. I can second that.
Okay.
And all in favor of July 3rd that can vote? Okay. All right.
Great.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, now we have we're continuing a public hearing and adoption of a resolution approving a major final development plan amendment to allow for additional wall signs on the medical office building at 3 Superior Drive, Lot 1A, Block 12, and associated parking garage at 5 Superior Drive, Lot 1B, and Block 12. This hearing was opened at the last meeting and we are continuing that tonight. So, Stephen, do you have a?
I need to jump in.
Oh, and yes, sorry.
I am going to recuse myself on this particular application. I just wanted to give the applicants a heads up as well as the public. As an employee and planner for the city of Louisville, there's a potential conflict of interest appearance in any vote on either side of this issue, just related to the level of concern that we've gotten from Louisville's residents. So I'm going to bow out on this one and let you all take it over. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Stephen, do you have a presentation?
Phyllis, can you get the lights when you get a chance? Good evening, Stephen Williams, town staff. This application, as stated, concerns an amendment to the existing final development plan for the Superior Medical Office Building and the associated parking garage in downtown Superior. The applicant, Pacific Medical Buildings, is proposing an amendment to the wall signage allowances for each structure. No other changes to the FDP are proposed. The medical office building is located at 3 Superior Drive, and the parking garage is addressed as 5 Superior Drive. These parcels are sited just north of the sports stable on the east side of Superior Drive and adjacent to US 36, which lies immediately to the east. The application materials include 2 tables to help clarify the changes that are proposed for each building. For the medical office building, 5 additional signs are proposed, 1 on the south elevation, and 2 on each of the west and north elevations. In addition to new signs, the applicant is also proposing a hierarchical design theme or scheme of 3 sign types, which are broken into tiers by size. So these 3 different proposed sign tiers are illustrated here, with tier 1 being 80 square feet in size and only used to sign and notice the Superior Medical Center. Lighting for this tier 1 sign is proposed to be external and done through downlit, fully shielded wall lights. The tier 2 size is 50 square feet and proposed to accommodate larger full floor users on the upper building floors. And then the tier 3 sign is consistent with the current signage allowance and are limited to 35 square feet in size and available for more of the mid-sized tenants, including Boulder Community Health and the urgent care sign that's currently up. Both the tier 2 and tier 3 signs are proposed to be internally illuminated signs, kind of more traditional signs that you typically see. And the hours that these signs are lit would be restricted to within 30 minutes of associated business hours in the morning and in the evening. This plan sheet reflects the south and west building elevations of the medical building. The proposed sign locations are highlighted in white. As illustrated, 2 tier 2 signs exist on the south building elevation. One in this location that's not been installed yet, and the other one's Boulder Community Health on the right. The additional signs are on this facade is just limited to the 1 tier 2 sign. The existing sign facing west, the sign allowance, I should say, is a tier 3 sign in this location, and they're asking for both a tier 1 sign and a tier 2 sign. So this is the final development plan application that was approved, and this shows the sign bands that were allowed on each of the kind of corner elements above the awnings. And this is what a 35 square foot sign that has been installed already looks like on that elevation. For the other request on the medical office building is on the north elevation, which is illustrated here. These are both new signs. Again, it's a tier 1 sign at the top and then a tier 2 sign below it. The east elevation is directly adjacent to the garage. No signage is proposed there. So this is the table for the parking garage. And in this case, 2 signs were approved on the north elevation and 1 was approved for the east. They're proposing 3 new signs on the north and 4 on the east. They would give them 1 tier 1 sign on each of the elevations and then 4 tier 3 signs consistent with what's been installed out there already. So you can't quite see it here, but the Boulder Community Health sign is on this column already, and they're proposing 3 additional signs just below it of the same size and scale. So whereas all of the signs are consistently dimensioned on the Superior Medical Office Center, these ones are actually the same size. So the tier 3 signs are still 35 square feet, but the size is really kind of directed or governed by the column widths and just what's suitable to fit on the proposed locations. So again, tier 1 sign, 80 square feet in size, located here, and then 35 square foot tier 3 signs of the same scale as the urgent care sign that's already in place above it. And then this was the FDP for these 2 elevations, and they showed, so if you go back, they're proposing one of their tier 1 signs on a location that they already had approved for a tier 3 sign. They're moving a little bit of stuff around, but that kind of makes sense for the hierarchy of signs for the Superior Medical Office Building sign to be in the larger location. With that, I mean, I'll just turn it over. Staff is recommending approval of this proposal as conditioned, which includes technical corrections and the preparation of a full FDP replacement document consistent with our policy. So what we have so far is just the 3 sheets that are being amended. We'll have to have a cover sheet and then all of the other 17 sheets. So 14 additional sheets will be provided before the town board meeting. No other changes will be reflected, but we'll have new dates. And we'll completely supersede the prior FDP approval with a new application, complete application. So that's it. We have representatives here from Superior or Pacific Medical Building to kind of go over a few items of their own and to answer any questions you guys have. But I can answer questions if you have them for me right now too. Okay. Would you rather turn it over to the applicant?
Do we have any questions for Steve before we?
I guess I have one related to lighting during operating hours. The town can't regulate the operating hours, right? So if a new tenant comes in and they're operating 24/7, the lighting would be 24/7 for that tenant, right? Is that correct?
Okay. Theoretically, yeah. I think the longest hours of operation for this use is already existing in the urgent care facility, and they can kind of clarify those hours, but the other tenants,
okay,
I would assume, aren't going to be as long of hours as the urgent care facility.
Yeah, right now
you can.
Hang on. Let me just make sure there are any more questions for Stephen. So that did raise a question. I thought I saw a 24/7 lighting for one of the signs in here.
So originally the tier 3 sign that we're looking at that's downlit, that actually tier 1, excuse me, the tier 1 sign for the Superior Medical Center would be lit the whole time, but it's not going to have the same effect. It's downlit. I mean, it's kind of the similar lighting as Costco is right now. They have some illustrations to kind of show you how that lighting works, where it just kind of casts down and you can see the sign at all hours if we allow for that lighting. Otherwise, we can tell them that it needs to be, similar to what the lighting is for the other users, where it goes off 30 minutes after the last user.
Okay, so that's a requested change also to have that lit outside of our.
It's a requested change, but it's consistent with an allowance that was given when this was first approved for the 20 or the 3 signs that are out there. There was no time limit set for any signs. They could be 24.
So that's existingly
that's an existing allowance for the signs that are existing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And can I ask why this? I mean, there was mention in here that there's just new information about the bill. I can't remember exactly how it read, but we've always known this was going to be a multi-tenant medical
Correct.
building. Why wasn't this addressed like when this was?
That's an awesome question. We typically try to get applicants to ask for more signage, or the extent of the level of signage that they're really going to need through an FDP proposal. But at the time that this came forward, they had 2 tenants that were known to be interested in occupying this space, and they hadn't leased out the rest of the space, so they don't necessarily know how those. Similar with the sports stable. The sports stable didn't know how many individual tenants were going to be inside of it once it was fully occupied, and so it's not uncommon that we come back and somebody asks for more signage after it's the same thing across the street with they asked for 20 square feet of signs for the Starbucks drive-through and all of those elements, and then they came back and they said, well, that's not as large as we'd have liked it to be. Once they actually get their users in there, their users have a better understanding of what they're typically asking for size of signs, and this is similar to what's going on here.
Okay, so this isn't something. I mean, this is a lack of thought in advance. I mean, just
a lack of full knowledge, though, too, in terms of how many tenants and whether or not there was going to be 4 tenants occupying each floor, or whether or not there was going to be floors that had 6 or 12 tenants in it, or it ends up shaking out.
Okay. Any other questions for Stephen before we go on? Okay. All yours.
Hi there. My name's Ben Rosenfeld from San Diego, California, 750 West 1st Street. That's actually an interesting point you made about the number of signs that were improved. So kind of that takes you back to the history of how we got involved in this project. So we got involved 2.5 years ago. We got a lead that there may be an opportunity to help push the Superior Medical Center to the finish line in terms of providing financing and construction guarantees and construction oversight. And when we showed up, we went to the sports stable and we're just absolutely sold that this is a great area for growth, and that this opportunity is truly, it's what the future of healthcare is in terms of the services that are in our outpatient building. You have diagnostic imaging, you have an urgent care, you have primary care, you have physical therapy, interestingly all located where the community is going to be in this case, where the community is being built, where the people are already traveling versus having to take people to the hospital in a less convenient location. So kind of with this new, we're seeing this all across the country. Again, we're a West Coast based real estate developer, and we're seeing a lot more off-campus, calling it retail-centric projects. And with these retail-centric type projects, the tenants within these buildings have way more of a retail-focused strategy. So, when you think of a retail, of a Starbucks, you think signage. So a lot of these tenants that we're looking at that are making the commitment to downtown Superior, the first thing that they ask is, can I be seen from the building, and can I be seen from the freeway, because it's such a fantastic opportunity. So, that's one issue of why we're here, is that we need more opportunities for, or we'd like to have more opportunities for prospective tenants, and then as well as our existing tenants in the building. It's, as we know, the overall master plan is a work in progress, and a lot of the patients and Dr. Sheen and his group can speak to it in a minute or two, but they have trouble finding the building. So that's why we introduced the Tier 1 sign to identify the building as the Superior Medical Center. Also, with that naming of the building, I've spoken to brokers and architects, Boulder Associates. We do deals with them in Southern California. One of the principals there, I told him, I said, hey, you pass our building all the time. Can't you get us a tenant? He's like, I didn't know that Superior had medical office. So we just think that having this branded building will really help the building survive and thrive. So I want to acknowledge that we have many of our tenants here. Unfortunately, one of them could not attend, but they did write a letter in support of the signage amendment here. That is Selene Pinnell with BCH. We have I'd like to acknowledge Dr. Sheen, Dr. Cabellas, and Dr. Castro with Cornerstone, and then as well as Sherry Coys with Touchstone. And I'm prepared to answer any questions that you may have about the proposed amendment.
Anything else presentation-wise?
Not
Do you want
unless.
to go through your?
Yeah, so I guess, this was meant to give context to the type of sign of how the Superior Medical Center, the Type 1 sign, will be lit as is proposed throughout the night. As you can see, it's not a very bright light, and it's not, the individual letters themselves are not lit. It is a downlit type of system. And then these are examples of what the tenant signs will look like at dusk. Yeah, that's it. Okay. And then again, these are just the renderings of kind of where the signs will be in a 3D perspective. And I also want to add, we have Bill Smith, who's with Intergroup Architects, and they helped put together this signage plan. So if the questions get technical, I'll kick them over to him. So yeah, this is the northwest face. And then actually, if you go back to the slide before, in the original.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, does he have a point? Is there a pointer up there?
Is there a point? This one?
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
There we go. So in actually the original rendering, it had this sign was on there. So this concept was previewed before, although it didn't ultimately make the elevation approved plan. And And yeah, and the one thing I'll add, you know, we got involved, I mentioned 2.5 years ago, kind of after the entitlement, but one thing that we would have done, recognizing that's a multi-tenant building, was try to get more signage opportunities from the beginning. So yeah, if you want to go to the, and then this is the last, so we imposed a kind of what the sign will look like on the garage. This is during construction. This was an older photo we had, but these are kind of representative of the size and scale of the signs. And then this is, we haven't actually designed the color of the sign yet. We'll have to come in later and get approval for that, but we showed the white and black option. And then here is from the other perspective, the black and then the white as well. And that is all that I have.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant or before I?
Could, Mr. Rosenfeld, could you go back one frame? Or,
How many frames?
I think just one. That one. That's the. So the Superior Medical Center logo up there in the top left, those are downlit with light. They're not backlit.
Correct. Those are downlit lights.
And those would stay on 24/7?
That's what the proposed application has intended.
Okay. And then the smaller size tenant signage, those would be on for 30 minutes beginning and ending of their business day?
Yeah, we would propose, we'd be agreeable to having the new signs follow the same standard of being off or on 30 minutes before or after business.
Okay. And is the urgent care facility in there, is that 24/7?
That is currently lit 24/7 per the FTP.
But the hours of operation for urgent care, do you know when they're closed?
Hours of operation, urgent care closes at 9 o'clock, so they would be shut down at 9:30.
Okay. We currently allow that to be on.
Correct,
that was
yeah.
approved to be 24/7.
It was, yep.
Okay. And those tenant signs are internally lit, is what you're
Correct.
requesting.
Correct.
Okay.
What type of retail tenants? I don't need to know the names of who you're negotiating with, but give me an example of when you say retail, who would be coming in?
So I guess the point I was trying to make is that like the whole strategy is more of a retail strategy, so going where the people are. The tenants are traditional healthcare tenants, and we're speaking to one in particular who's a large user who is interested in taking an entire floor, and they're a traditional healthcare provider.
Okay, so not a retail. So someone, I'm not coming there looking for Starbucks or for Chick-fil-A or something.
No.
So I'm not shopping. I mean, I wouldn't typically be driving by looking for a place for this type of service. I'd be on Google or something like that, or a referral from a doctor.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I'm trying to understand why the tenant name is so important on a building like this when it's not like a Starbucks. It's not a traditional retail.
Yeah, it's just meant to spread the brand and get eyeballs and again, this is a new growing area, and it's to try to, plant a flag, so to speak, as serving the population.
Can you go back a couple of slides to the south, where it shows the southwest corner? I drove by the building right before the meeting here, so go back another. It was
Part of the presentation?
Yeah, it was part of the presentation. Yeah, not that one, the one before that maybe. There, so I think this is the southwest corner. And in this, when I drove by, this is where I would have thought you would have wanted signage, because to me, I drove by this building, and I didn't know what it was either. I mean, I knew it was a Superior Medical Center, but I couldn't tell what client, whatever. I had to go down to see that the healthcare was over there. But what I don't understand is why are you not putting signage, big signage on this corner? Because if I come into the town center, I would look down here and say, there's the medical center. And nothing that I see in what you're proposing is going to help me with that, is it?
So we have a large sign there, and then this will be a user sign as well.
But it's blocked by the sports stable when you turn, because you're coming from the south. When you come here, you can't see the elevation on the left, and you can't see the elevation on the right.
So the
Elevations on Main Street.
Right. You come in Main Street, you turn left, and you can't see either one of those. You can't see anything on the building. That's just, it's clear to me there's no signage on it. So I don't disagree with the signage question. It just seems like what you're proposing isn't solving what you're saying the issue is, I guess.
Where's the address on the building?
The address on the building is right here.
Again, back to what he's pointing. I had to go find this building when I had to go find the doctor.
Yeah, so I need to ask you to not speak out from the audience, please.
So I'm not disagreeing with the need for signage. It just seems like some of the premises of what you're going, it doesn't seem consistent with what you're asking for, I guess. Because if people are having, when I read the proposal, it said people were having trouble finding it, walking around, walking into the wrong place. Well, having something on that corner would help someone know. I still had to do exactly what you said, walking around, and I don't know that these signs would direct me to the right place.
So I can respond to that. The first request that we had from the applicant had a monument sign request as part of it, and it was located on this corner of the building.
Yep.
But I guess in parallel, staff is working with the master developer in order to have some kind of temporary wayfinding signs throughout downtown. So we weren't really supportive of a monument sign to a building that we're going to have the wayfinding signs established for anyway. And we were looking to the master developer to tell us where he's proposing to put, the permanent wayfinding signs, and that's still kind of in flux. So it seemed premature to put a wayfinding sign to basically tell you you've arrived at a location, when it's right there. So the wayfinding signs, as I understand it, will occur on Main Street and then potentially occur as you're at this intersection to tell you that you need to go north. So more of the wayfinding signs will, once you're here within downtown Superior, will get you to the right location. The signs that they're actually proposing are more of the scale that you're going to see, if you're up and, around the McCaslin US, interchange or coming up and down Superior, you should be able to see, or McCaslin, you should be able to see where they're proposing a medical center sign on their 4th floor elevation facing directly west.
Two more questions. Why at night? Why do they need to be lit at night? Why do any of them need to be lit at night?
They were, designed to just have, prominence at all time. I mean, when they're downlit, they're not, I guess, as prominent. It's more to, if there are patients coming when it is dark and. For whatever reason after hours, it is nice to have a lit area for wayfinding, for branding of the building as well. So that was the thought around that.
Okay. And last question I have is why just 3 tenant signs? Why not 5? Why not 1? I mean, when I look at, again, I drove around before the meeting to different places, and most of the buildings in the area have 1 major tenant sign on them. They don't have 3 or 4 tenant signs on them.
So it's because the way that we see the rest of the building leasing up, based on the amount of tenants that we have that are interested in signage, we believe that this number of signs will get us to a fully leased building when currently we're at 40% leased. And also we didn't want to propose something too many because then it takes away from the architecture of the building.
Thank you.
And then why internal lit versus downlit on all the other signs?
That's we see that standard in most tenant logos on our buildings.
Are you set on that, or do you have? Are you open to considering less bright?
It's also the standard that's currently on the building with the existing signs, with the existing urgent care sign, for example. Mm-hmm. So it would be strange to have kind of different standards for different tenants, in our opinion.
Okay. Any other questions before
I just have one question. Is this something that your tenants are currently asking for, or are you trying to anticipate needs in the future of tenants that will come in?
Yes and yes. Our existing tenants are asking for it, and the prospective tenants are also asking for it.
That's what I had.
Okay. I think I'll entertain public comment at this point, and then we can have additional questions or discussion after that. Unless...
Could I ask Mr. Rosenfeld one last question?
Sure, go ahead.
One of our residents from Louisville delivered the picture to us. It's his view from the back of his house. Could you point on this where that is? Like what signage is going to go on this garage? Yes, please.
Yeah.
What signage is going on that corner of the garage there?
I have a closer view.
Yeah, I can.
Just so that we're clear.
So the only thing,
Just so that we're clear.
I don't know how to do this on the record. The only thing you're going to see, and I'll just pass it around. I'll just circle it and pass it around. The only thing you're going to see is the area that I can write on this. You're okay?
This is a closer view.
Is the area I've circled, and it'll be
These are two different views.
right. We'll answer the first question first. So this is the east. This is an east-facing image of that, and you're going to see the Superior Medical Center sign shown here.
Is the rest behind the tree?
So it's just the Superior Medical.
Yeah. From that perspective.
Superior Medical Center.
Those are...
Right.
Commissioners, I think it may make sense to enter that into the record.
Yeah.
That's,
Okay.
Yeah, but these are deciduous trees. These aren't evergreens. So you've got from
There's another photograph.
from September to March where you're not going to have all this green either. So, right? Yeah.
Yeah. There.
So you'll see. So behind that are the three tenant. Are those tier 3 signs, right? Behind those trees.
Behind the trees. Yeah, that's what I think. So it's the Superior Medical Center that you see in the top left corner of the garage.
Yeah. And then the tier 3 signs.
And then the tier 3 signs are behind the deciduous trees.
From that view, from that particular house. Yeah.
May I ask a question?
Yes, you may.
What's the actual distance from your house to the buildings?
He'll need to come up. Can we save that for public comment? Yeah, let's not answer the questions of the residents yet.
Sorry.
If the applicant knows,
I know.
that would be great. Do you know, Stephen?
I've got Google Earth up here.
Yeah, I'm looking at Google Earth as well, just trying to get a sense of the...
That one was 1,400 feet, I think. So,
Yeah, so
from the back of the...
quarter of a mile.
Yeah, so I did a few different shots of, I don't know if we can see that, or if I have to zoom in, but basically it must have moved on me. I can't see the sign, but it's basically here, at the end of the kind of trail or right before the trail bends on the golf course, looking back to the west. Was that distance, and it should show up right here. I think it was 1,400 feet. Can you see that from where you're at, Ben?
Yeah, well, if you put it down, yeah, it looks like 1,400 feet,
Okay.
but it's a little blurry.
Yeah, looking at this scale, I'd say you're about right, 1,400 feet-ish. Yeah, quarter mile, yeah, to the...
And the images from that were here too, so I don't know why we're not going down. But that's what it looked like from the camera, but this is probably more representative or more accurate from like human eye as far as what the scale of the building looks like from that portion, distance-wise.
Any other questions of the applicant or Stephen before I go on? Okay. All right, so at this time, I'll entertain public comment. We'd like to ask you to keep your comments to 5 minutes or less when you come up. If you just tell us your name, your address, that would be great. So, anybody want to come up and... Sure, go right ahead.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I really appreciate the way you're looking at this.
I got it. Just going to need to get his name on the record.
Introduce yourself again?
My
I'm
name
sorry.
is Patrick Hewson, and 1023 Turnberry Circle in Louisville. while the proposal for the downward lit lights are very good, I'm also from Southern California, where light pollution is tremendous. And one of the reasons we came out here was to have a little less. And the proposal to bring more light, I mean, we're already looking at a 24-hour lighted structure in the parking garage. And even more lights, we're losing property value, us and all our neighbors. So I would hope that the Town of Superior Planning Commission would give light to all of this as they would look at it from their homes. We've shown a few pictures, but the constant light that we get is quite a bit, and our night light is diminished quite a bit. Thank you.
Thank you. Any others? Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Mark Jewett, Jewett, 943 St. Andrews Lane in Louisville. So my wife and I have been in our current house about 22 years, and I'd say we're pretty much, when we look at, the parking structure, it's pretty much straight on to the northeast side of it there. And 22 years, we've seen a lot of changes over time, trying to be accommodating to, the growth in the area. But I've definitely noticed, especially like even with the Target sign when it first went up there, right? I mean, I was here before there was a Target there. And these internally lit signs are very intrusive, especially for, the history that we've had and the light pollution. I can totally agree with that too. It just keeps adding up as time goes along. So I think I really resonated, Commissioner Malia, I think it was you that was talking about maybe there's a different thing that's solved. I think I've been to the sports stable a few times. I totally understand coming in from that side, maybe some help, but I don't understand the light signage that just points out and, right at me pretty much on my house and on my neighbors as well. So I would ask that you consider, denying that part of it. I can't say I can speak to the downlit sign. I don't think I have a good feel for what that is, but these internally lit ones are very problematic for me and most of my neighbors, I think so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Gina Collins. I live also on Turnberry Circle, just a little further up, 1037 in Louisville. Is that all the information you need? So my family and I have had a very noticeable disruption from the Floyd sign, which is an internally lit sign on the sports stable. It shines right in our bedroom at night, and my children's bedroom. We've resorted to sleep masks at night for the kids, but the sign is very disruptive, and it's on late at night. We actually did talk to the Floyd's owner and talk to him about that, but I would also second or third or fourth the thought of having downlit signs instead of the internally lit signs that especially the ones that stay on late into the hours. Our view of the sports stable, I didn't take any pictures, but our view, there are no trees obstructing our view of the beautiful parking garage, and I understand it. I use the sports stable all the time, and my family nearly lives there, and I fully support it. I'm in the health profession, and I totally agree that signage is necessary, specifically when you get into it. Unlike Southern California, our people are looking for stuff within our town. We're not looking for stuff from the highway specifically, especially medical centers and doctors that we've been referred to specifically. We're not looking from the highway to find that. I agree with the Superior Medical, the Tier 1 downlit sign. I can see that is helpful, but the tenant signs, even the urgent care, if it's not 24/7, I'm not sure why it's on 24/7. But I can see the downlit sign. I would encourage you to please hold some of the standards of our community, where we don't have so much light pollution into the late hours and such. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Good.
Good evening. My name is Sue Wade, 1017 Turnberry Circle. My husband and I have been in our home for 27 years, the original homeowner. So obviously looking across 36, we've seen the town of Superior grow by leaps and bounds. Good for you folks. And I thank you for including the folks of Louisville to participate, to be a main input with this signage. I highly recommend lower lightage signage. You don't need, first of all, the town of Superior is not California. It's Superior. This is Colorado. The town of Superior and Louisville, I believe, work hand in hand. They're folks. We don't need 3 to 4 signs lit up like Las Vegas. Again, like the parking garage. I live right across the way. Once the leaves are down on those trees, it is lit up. And if you're talking about adding more signage for this medical building, I understand folks are going to need to have signage to find it. But like what one of the gentlemen said, that you're going to be in the town of Superior looking for that on Main Street. And you're driving and you see all these tall buildings. Oh, I think that's a medical center. Put the signage there, not on 36. People are going to be distracted anyway. If it comes down to added signage, do what other towns do. Put your blue medical sign. Next exit, you'll find the Superior Medical Center. It doesn't have to be lit up and glitzy. Just common sense. I guess that's all I'm asking, is just common sense. If you were in my shoes, looking across there and what the proposal's going to be, just please, common sense. And the last thing is, the medical center, the tenants should not dictate for upcoming vacancy. The town of Superior is a wonderful place. It's gonna sell out. You're gonna get your occupants. They shouldn't dictate on the signage. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Judy Sampson. I'm at 1023 Turnberry Circle. And as my husband said, I picked out the house because of the view. And I kind of knew in my heart that we wouldn't have that view all the time, because we could see Flatirons clear south, the whole thing. So I kind of knew that was going to happen. And I understand the economics of this whole thing. But I just have to say that our quality of life has gone down a lot. We sit outside and watch the sun go down. We can still see that because that's straight west of us. But we can't see the stars anymore. which we used to love to do. And I would just second what everyone said here about trying to have lower lights, not the big internally lighted signs, because right now, I wake up several times in the night, and in my bedroom window is this bright neon-like white sign that says urgent care. And then there's the Floyd's Barber Shop there. And it's disrupting to sleep. It really is. So I would just urge you to think about the downlit signs and help us to keep our views, because that's why we moved here. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Betsy Hyatt, also from Louisville. Glad we're all here. I appreciate you taking the time to hear me speak. I, too, am bothered by the signage that's currently existing, and somewhat appalled of the idea that even more would be coming in. But so I second and third my neighbors' comments. But I also would like to say, I don't think it's a good look for the town of Superior. As you're coming down the highway, to have that bright signage right as you're driving down Highway 36, that's what you see of Superior, is what I find to be obnoxious signage. So if I also understand, or believe I understand, that you are considering a proposal for the development just east of that area, I can imagine that the value of that development will decrease if that signage is as lit as is proposed, or even as lit as it is currently. I do not see why there needs to be a big urgent care sign lit up all night if there's not urgent care available all night. I think that's not only unattractive, it's misleading and a disservice to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. One more.
Timothy LaFoley, 951 St. Andrews Lane. Well, you're hearing him chime in here. The growth in the town center of Superior is major, bigger than anything in this area, Louisville, Lafayette, what have you, as far as height is concerned. When the sports stable went up, that pretty much killed any view of the Mesa and the lower half of the Flatirons on the other side of 36. When Floyd's Barbershop sign went up, hi, here's a giant beacon to the west. When the parking garage lights went on, when they were first constructed, that was a big, whoa, the sun just rose to the west in the middle of the night. The amount of signage that's being proposed here, I'm questioning, is more for advertising for getting tenants versus getting people to the building. I actually go to Dr. Sheehan's clinic for physical therapy and foot surgery this year. And when I Googled the address for the building, it sent me somewhere over towards Broomfield. That's a problem of trying to get the address of the building accessible and visible with monument markers coming in to say, hi, that address is over in that northeast corner of the complex. When you're driving up to the building until you're on top of it, you still don't see where's the building number, where's the street address for this building. How do I find this based on directions that were given to me? That's a problem. That needs to be addressed. Is it addressed by putting 15 signs on the north and west and east sides of the building, basically facing 36 to say, this is where you want to go? No. What you're looking for is signage from the Superior side, not from the 36 side coming in. So that can be addressed by signage on the west and southwest portions of the building. Once you're into the roads within the complex. The issue of trying to get more tenants in shouldn't be solved with signage on the building. It needs to be getting the fact out that there's a medical building in Superior. That, okay, this is a new concept that we're trying to go down. We're trying to get sort of the service market, retail environment. Well, I'm not sure of many retailers that have that amount of signage sitting on their buildings trying to get them in there. If you look at any other medical building, there's one major sign on the building within the area you're coming into it for access, the access points coming into it to identify, here's the building you're looking for. Your doctor's somewhere in that building. You'll go to the directory service inside the door to find where they are the first time. And once you've done that, you know where you're going. That's what I had to go through. Why you need massive amounts of signage on the outside of the building, whether it's downlit or backlit, seems like dramatic overkill for locating a building. The other issue is the times of operation of the lidded signs. As you're hearing from all these folks, anything lit after dark, when normally these businesses are closed, is disruptive to everybody due east and a little bit north, on the north side of that building as well. So why that stuff needs to be lit by that amount for that amount of time, I don't see the benefit for consumers looking for medical services being the subject of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you also for giving us the opportunity to speak. My name is Kathy Brome-Jewett. I am Mark's wife. I live at 943 St. Andrews Lane here in Louisville, or there in Louisville. And I guess I would just say what I would add to all the other comments is that when you are coming down west on 36, generally speaking, from Westminster forward, there aren't a lot of signage. I mean, 36 corridor has been very respectful of not putting a lot of lights and signs. I think there's a big chunk at 36 and Sheridan and another one at 104th. The 104th one, there aren't any homes around that area. So I know there's a bowling alley and a movie theater and I think a Target as well, but there are no homes affected by all that signage. And I actually like that about the 36 corridor, that there aren't a lot of California-style highways that have a ton of signs and lights. It makes this corridor and this whole Boulder County area feel different than the way of our other states. But this is where we live. This is our home. So putting signs up in a vacuum without considering our homes, I would hope that you would look at the whole picture and say there's the business aspect and then there's the living lifestyle aspect. And we are very much affected by these types of requests. And if approved, I would question how many more signs are going to come down the pike. If the whole goal is to get more tenants in and the tenants are asking for more signage, at what point do we say no because it's affecting too much of our lifestyle here? I would also like to implore you to think that Avista, that also affects us, has been very respectful to us as neighbors and working with us to, because they know this is where we live, this is our home. So I would implore you to think of that as well. And then I'm also going to second or third that really it should be an internet search that takes us to these buildings. I can tell you the first time I went to Sports Stable, because we have children that utilize it as well, it wasn't from the highway. I'm trying to find it. It's from the front. So where exactly was it? So those are the types of things that I think need to be balanced. And lastly, I would just say we're neighbors. My kids play with Superior kids, with sports. We all go to school together. And so again, as we look at this, these types of decisions that affect us as neighbors, I would hope that we would look at the whole picture. Thank you.
Thank you.
Get everyone? Right. One more.
Good evening. My name is Sherry Quaice, and I'm the manager at Touchstone Imaging, which is over at 3 Superior Drive in Superior. Thank you, everyone from Louisville and from Superior for coming in and letting us know your thoughts. As you know, we are talking about signage. I am one of the tenants there. I am the manager there. We do what they call outpatient diagnostic imaging. So we are much cheaper than going to the hospital. We do MRIs.
If you could face the microphone and the commission. Sorry.
CTs, ultrasounds, x-rays, fluoral. We have an opportunity to offer the community here a big, huge cost savings versus going to the hospital. With that said, and with the area that we're in, as you know, Sports Stable is a brand new area. This place has exploded, it's growing, and with new area and new construction comes lost people, multiple lost people. We have had many people whose GPSs are not caught up yet, or whose apps are a little bit behind still, not being able to find us. Sports Stable is known in the area a little, but when you are 85 years old and you don't know how to operate a GPS and all you have is just directions, signage is always very welcome. We also see people from throughout the city, not just this area specifically. We also have people come see us or refer to us throughout the city. So not having a sign on 24/7 is fine, but we would sure like to have the opportunity on 36 to at least a half an hour before business hours begin to a half an hour after business hours end, have the opportunity for those coming from 36 to be able to see that there is Superior Medical and look, that's where Touchstone's at. Currently, right now, we have no signage and it's very difficult to find us. The medical building does say urgent care. We are not urgent care. It does say Boulder Community Hospital. We are not Boulder Community Hospital. We're Touchstone Medical Imaging. So the challenge is there for our patients as well as for the community to find us. The signage that we're asking for is a half an hour on before, a half an hour after to allow our patients, especially those who don't utilize the GPSs on phones, don't know how to find us. We spend multiple times, which is not a problem, helping our patients get to us. So just with that consideration in mind, again, signage, I appreciate everything, believe me, that you are saying. Town of Louisville, definitely. But to allow us to maybe have that down sign, not 24/7, but to have it a half an hour before and a half an hour after we close, which is usually around 5 or 6 o'clock at night, to allow our patients in the community to discover that we are here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Add something.
Can we ask questions? No, not of the...
It's okay to ask of the... Is it okay to ask a question of one of the
Yeah, I mean, if you want to ask questions to the applicant or to Stephen, you can certainly do that at this point.
I think you had one for...
But not the people who are giving not...
Yeah, you can, sure.
Okay. Where did you move? Where did Touchstone move from?
Touchstone is located with 11 centers throughout the city.
And what does your signage look at those? What does your signage look like at those?
At our centers, our colors are green and blue. They're not a bright blue.
No, but do you have the same type of signage?
Yes, we have not downlit, but we have the backlit, and they shut off a half an hour after. At some of our locations, they shut off a half an hour after we close and start again a half an hour before we open.
Thank you.
Thank you. And hang on. Are we finished with public comment before we? And then I can let the applicant respond. Sorry, go ahead. Art.
Yeah, public comment.
Yes.
I'm Dr. Joe Sheen, Cornerstone Orthopedics and 3 Superior Drive, Suite 225, and I'm here with my partners, Dr. Castro and Dr. Cabayas, and just want to add our 2 cents, being tenant and being also our group has been part of this town center project ever since inception, and as many of you know, we've kind of brought the idea to the town of Superior because we wanted this town center to be a destination of health and wellness, and it really puts Superior on the map in that regard. And our group has cared for the community for past 25, 30 years now, and we had an opportunity to put the Sports Stable medical office building over behind Costco, behind the CDOT area, but we didn't want to be known as Gravel Orthopedics, so we decided to go ahead and put it where it is and anchor the town center as it is, and with every intention of being the being able to have that visibility off Highway 36. And I completely understand and appreciate all the comments from the residents of Louisville. And there was never any intention on our part to disrupt views and things like that, and I value my views as well. But we're all just asking for is the ability to just have signage like any other commercial and office building along Highway 36, and to be able to advertise ourselves, to let people know where we are, to help have patients find us, and so people know that this is what we're doing here in Superior. And ironically, too, we engaged Touchstone Imaging to come be with us in our building, specifically because the MRI center in Louisville had closed. And so they have picked up a lot of the business and have served our patients really well, whereas otherwise our patients have to travel pretty far, even to Lafayette and Thornton to get their images. So we work as a team, and the whole medical office building was kind of designed that way, and including the sports table. And what we're offering to not just the community, but to people moving here in the future, is that it's just a unique format of offering patient care, especially to young athletes that have never been seen before. And Touchstone is an integral part of that. So those are kind of my comments. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Any other public comment before we? I think we've gotten everybody. Okay. So do you have any response to?
Well, I mean, I guess, yeah, so one response, I mean, we would be open to just having the signs lit 30 minutes before and after the close of business, if that seems like an agreeable proposal here. I mean, it seems to make sense, and we're more concerned about the locations of them and having them illuminated while the business is open is our number one intention. For the tenant signs, and then to still have the backlit Superior Medical Center sign, if that is agreeable.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Any other questions for the applicant or Stephen?
I've got a question for Stephen. I don't know if you know this, but Stephen, is the urgent care on 24/7? And is Floyd's? And Floyd's is on a different building, I know, but
Floyd's on a different building. Floyd's should be shut off 30 minutes after operation, and they've been notified. So hopefully that.
Okay.
And then I think the question is really more was kind of my follow-up question to Ben. Currently, the urgent care light has been approved for 24/7. So I don't know, when you're saying that you're going to regulate the signs, is it all the signs, or is it just the ones in this proposal, or could you clarify that?
So we have a timer, so we have the ability to do that. I mean, we have the ultimate approval on those signage rights. I know that that tenant does value that sign, so that'll be a conversation, but that we can have. But as owners, we don't have a strong feeling to keep it on longer than 30 minutes after business. For the hours of business, so so the urgent care is open until 9, so until 9:30.
Can I ask you one question while you're up there? Are you opposed to, instead of the internally lit, going to downlit on the other? It sounds like that's a big issue, and I'm not sure I understand or could tell the difference, but is there a difference in your mind to why they couldn't be all downlit?
Again, I'm not the technical person. I just know that we would like to have continuity on the building, and we already have the backlit tenant signs, and so we would prefer to keep that. However, it's something that we could study.
Okay, because if the downlit are out, I mean, I think the concern is the downlit facing kind of Louisville side. If instead of being internally lit, being downlit, where I think on the tenant elevation, Steve, you can.
For the parking garage, then?
Yeah, in the parking garage. Yeah, that those would be downlit instead of internally lit.
I think it might be, I mean, at least the locations that are proposed, it might be difficult. I mean, you might have some either really bright lights from the top that shine down to get all 4 of them, or
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I only say, consider it, look at it. I don't understand lighting, so.
Yeah, but I think that's a good point, Stephen. I think technically it'll be tough to downlight all of those signs.
Yeah.
situation on that parking garage lights?
If we can, we can't have you speak from the audience. Sorry, we can't catch it on there.
Mr. Rosenfeld, one more question for you. So some of the residents of Louisville that are here tonight discussing this proposal, if you notice, there's nobody from Superior that's here speaking about this. Have you and your group investigated signage along the highway with CDOT and things like that to alert drivers of the medical center location?
Yeah, so ours, it's a building sign with on-site users. So our understanding was that we do not need to go through the CDOT process.
I think he's asking about the blue signs along the more the wayfinding signs.
A standalone sign or a combination of a sign. Excuse me. You come down the highway and there's a sign that says there's a Chick-fil-A, there's a Freddy's, there's a this, there's a that. Have you all investigated signage along the highway with CDOT about announcing your building?
No, we haven't. I mean, usually you see that with hospitals, not generally for medical office buildings.
Yes, go ahead.
Is the garage light actually on all night as well?
The parking garage lights, I understand, are on probably all night, and they're used up until, because they're used for the sports table, and the sports table has hockey at least till 2 in the morning. And it's a safety issue. So I know that we had initial comments on that, and they went back and they put in some additional shields to hopefully have an impact on that garage lighting. But that's all I know to date on that one. So.
Okay. Anyone else? Before I close, and so my next step will be to potentially close the public hearing for further discussion, which will eliminate any more questions for the applicant. So we can have a little bit of discussion with Stephen. Okay. You all good? All right.
Just be temporary.
It's temporary.
You guys okay if I close the public hearing? We good? Okay. All right, great. All right. Public hearing is closed. And we can start discussion. Thank you, by the way, for everybody from Louisville. I see you're setting out, but thank you for your comments.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening to your neighbors.
You're always welcome. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for coming.
So are you guys, do we stay and listen? Or
Yeah, you're welcome. Yep, you are. You're welcome to stay and listen. And
so you're just internal discussion?
Yep, right. Just be an internal discussion. You're welcome to stay. Absolutely. Yeah, just no additional comments. All right, let's start down here with Ben. You look like you have something to say.
Yeah, I see two different parts to this. The signs on the medical building itself, I get. Like if you're in an urban area, I could see there being a need for more tenant signs. So you get close to the building, you're like, oh, there he is. But the signs, particularly the internally lit tenant signs on the parking garage, are great billboard signs, and I think that's a different thing in my mind than the tenant signs on the building. I get branding Superior Medical Center on the parking garage from 36 because it's only fair the hospital across 36 has a monument sign that's nice and tasteful branding the hospital. But other than that, I kind of respect the comment about 36 is a view corridor. It probably would be a scenic highway in some other states. So there might be some responsibility to, honor that to a certain extent. But that's kind of my thoughts right now.
You ready, Commissioner Stewart, or should I go on?
I also have a couple thoughts. I do understand the need for signage and branding of the businesses, and I get that. My concern is the number of proposed signs here. To be quite frank, I think that there is a limit in terms of what you can have on your building without making it look like a big monument sign. And I think we're kind of getting to that point from the signs that I've and the renderings that we've seen. So that's a concern of mine, and I really think that there may be some opportunity to explore having these signs there, but maybe with the possibility of the downlit signs. And that's really one of the reasons I had mixed feelings about this. I like the Superior Medical Office building sign. I think that really does work for that building, and probably would be a great wayfinding tool for people that are looking for doctors in their clinics. So I like that a lot, and the branding there. I really don't care for the smaller, and I'm saying smaller, but they're bigger than anything we've allowed in our town before. So I don't really care for those necessarily, and the backlit signs for multiple tenants. Again, it gives the impression of a monument sign, in my opinion. Those are a couple of thoughts. The other thing that comes to mind is that there are measures being taken place and that have been proposed for wayfinding for the building and tenants that are a part of that building. And therefore, do we really need to approve that amount of additional signage on a building where there are measures being taken to help people locate it? So those are a couple of initial thoughts. I have to be honest, I'm torn on this one. I wanted to try and find ways to approve this, because I understand the needs of businesses and the need for signage and branding. But this is a case where I think it's overkill.
Thank you.
Well said, Commissioner Stewart. I have to agree with you. The point I raised earlier about the highway signage, and you said you hadn't looked into anything about that, I think that would be a great solution to part of this issue. Having the lights, all the residents from Louisville that came over here and expressed their frustration with the light, and I understand how that disrupts you at night, especially. So anyway, I think you should investigate highway signage to direct highway traffic to the medical center. I think that's fair and reasonable, and I'm kind of surprised you haven't done that yet. The 30 minutes before and after opening and closing of the businesses, I think that's a great idea, because it limits that light pollution. These folks don't have to look at that at 10 o'clock at night, and that's what's disrupting them. My other point would be that for people to be able to find this medical building using GPS on their phone or however they do it, the businesses, your tenants that are going to be in that building, have IT departments in their companies that will formulate with Google how to find their location. That's their job. It's not my job. It's not the Town of Superior's job to make sure that people can find your office. It's the IT director of that company who needs to put that on the internet and make sure it works properly. So with that, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of all the signage. I think it's overkill as well. But I understand how valuable tenants find that. But my concern is more so, I think your tenants and your customers are going to come, whether the signage is there or not. But I think the people that live across the highway and the people that live in the Town of Superior 24/7 would not appreciate it.
Commissioner Whitty?
I probably echo what everyone has said here, is that I do understand the need for signs, and especially after driving over there tonight, there absolutely needs to be signs. I do believe that they should be on this corner as we're looking. I understand Stephen's comment from before, so I kind of go back to Mr. Stewart's comment that maybe we should wait on the signage until we've determined how the wayfinding signs are being dispersed, and then we can make some decisions, because this doesn't solve the issue in my mind. But I support the idea. I think it is too many signs. I do like I think we need to respect what our Louisville neighbors have said, that light is shining in their face. I'm a little bit embarrassed that the Floyd barbershop has been going on for as long, and we hear from you tonight, so I apologize from the town of Superior, because that's embarrassing if people have made that and we haven't fixed that problem, because that's inexcusable in my opinion. So, but I support the idea. I think it's too many signs. I also a little concerned, and we didn't talk about it now, and it seems like this is going to go to another discussion, but how consistent is the 80 square foot sign with other signs we're putting in like the hotel and other places? Are we consistent with that signage size? Again, I don't know. We were looking at some of the criteria in the book before, and I don't know that. I don't know if it's by specific application that we approve that.
It's different for each FTP, and I meant to look at the Element Hotel one. I can pull it up and we can figure it out fairly quickly, but it usually is based on some sort of lineal frontage, so the width of the building, and that's, I mean, the Floyd's sign is 60 square feet, and the Floyd sign is basically how the FDP got approved for the Boulder Valley Ice, was just that they had a bunch of sign bands that were located, and Floyd's was the first person to ask or request a sign or negotiate a sign, and it was given to them by the building manager over there, and that's the only we don't even have a sign for the sports table that's at that scale. Right. But that's how that application went through and was approved, and
But I think the disrespecting of turning it off.
Right.
That's
right.
what I'm not.
No.
We
I get
approved
that.
the sign.
No, I'm just trying to give you some context of signs.
Yeah.
So we looked at a few others. I asked Louisville what the Cinnabar sign, was, and it's like 160 square feet across the freeway from us.
But it's downlit, though, right? It's not. Is it backlit?
No, it's backlit.
But it's at the top of a. Yeah, it's low, which helps.
Yeah, it's lower.
It's like
true.
But
you can see it from across the freeway.
Right.
So, and you can see it from the freeway.
Yeah.
But I can pull up the Element Hotel sign. I'm thinking it's about 60 square feet. So and so this one at 50 square feet is, I think it's in the realm of what's and it's based on the size of the sign. So across the street you have the Starbucks and all of them. I don't know how wide that building is, but each of those 4 tenants has 22 square feet of signage allowed, or 21 and a half, something like that. But they all have, about 25 feet of frontage, for that building. So that's generally how it's done. So.
Yeah. And the last comment I have is I do think the one sign that makes all the sense in the world, and to me should have been put up there a long time ago, is the Superior Medical Center on 36. It should be branded. It is hard to tell that that's what that is. So I think that makes all the sense in the world, that needs to be branded out there so people driving up and down know it's there. And we should want that there as the town to do that. So I support that. I don't really like the tenant signs on the side. But
can I ask a question for everybody? Is it the tenant signs that are lit, or is it the signage in regardless of whether or not it's lit?
To me, it's regardless, because again, doing my limited research, most buildings have one tenant sign. They don't have multiple tenant signs on them when you go around to this type of building, at least from what I looked at. So that's my comment. I don't know if
I'm okay with the downlighting of the Superior Medical Building, because I think that sheds less light pollution than the backlit signs. So that's my take on your question, Stephen.
Okay.
And I think, just real quickly here, that if we can ask this applicant for a combination of those, for me, it's simply the number of signs. That's a huge variance from what our design standards and guidelines are. So that right there kind of heightens my attention when they're asking for that number of signs. So I think that maybe if there's a combination and we're able to ask this applicant to come back with something that gives us a combination of backlit signs and downlit signs, then it might make it more appealing for me anyway.
Commissioner Harper.
Thank you. I agree with and support the arguments about better wayfinding, because you can't help people who can't find you. I'm doubtful about this proposal because few, if any, of the office buildings that I've worked in have more than one exterior sign either. I've never seen an office building that had exterior lighted signs for all its tenants. Admittedly, most of the buildings I've worked in have been larger and they've had more tenants, so you'd be changing them all the time. So there are practical reasons as well as philosophical ones. I think this building is different from retail because it's higher, so a lot of the signs are actually much higher and would be much more visible than if they were down at the same level as, say, the Costco signs that we were talking about in the marketplace. I think there's a concept issue for me here because downtown Superior, this is really the first office building that's been built in Superior. And a couple of weeks ago, we were given 160 pages of documents that's called Design Guidelines Supplement to PD Amendment number 3. And I can't find anywhere in there that talks about what kind of office signs we should have. I mean, it covers lots of other areas.
I can show you.
But there's nothing about office signs. I think if, I'm going to say downtown Superior is scheduled to have about 373,000 square feet of office space in it, of which this is the first 62,000. And I think it would be appropriate to have some general guidelines about how we want signs on office buildings to be before we do it on a building by building basis. So that's another concern of mine. I don't know how the Floyd Partnership sign got on that building. I think it's dreadful. I mean, I don't think it suits the building, and I doubt it's really very helpful to Floyd's. And I think the Ranch Capital, or the developer's done a very poor job. At least I've only lived in Superior for 18 months, but I think they've done a very poor job with putting in signs to the sports stable or any of the adjoining facilities. I mean, you drive down there and drive around looking for what it is, whatever it is you're looking for. And I think they should have done a much better job on that.
Yeah, thank you. And I basically concur with what all has been said. I think what's important to understand is, I mean, this is predominantly a residential area. And I'll tell you, we walked down, it was several months ago, and we were walking through our neighborhood in Original Town and kept staring at this bright light. We had no idea what the heck it was. And we just walked and walked. It was a sports stable light. I had no idea. I mean, it was just that front. And it is just this bright light that's just there. And yeah, that's up there. I thought it was something far off in the distance. I thought I had no idea we had this bright light. But as we start thinking about this downtown area, I think that we've got to seriously consider lit signs. I mean, I fought it hard when we built the marketplace. Keeps coming up. You have to stay on top of it because we ended up with some lit signs facing Original Town. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that we said no lit signs would ever face Original Town from the marketplace. They're like, oh, no, that was just the first phase. Phase 2, we didn't talk about that. I mean, why in the world would you not carry that through from phase 1 to phase 2, right? So, I mean, we've got to be very careful about signage and watching what's going on. And I feel bad that I haven't been paying attention to it. I mean, they proposed that 50-foot monument sign we all kind of got in an uproar about, and you know, these neon lighted signs. I mean, Costco was required to put in an external illuminated sign. I thought we were set. It's like, great, here we go. Target's up. Boom, we have bright red lights. PetSmart. Everybody got it after that. So it was clear that was what we had talked about early on. But then as time went on, that changes. So I will say to the people who are listening, whatever happens tonight, you've got to continue to pay attention, because requests happen, development plans change, and next thing you know, another phase comes in and the signage approval is different. So that said, I do understand the need for signage. I get it, but I am vehemently opposed to neon lit signs or these internal lit signs. I think they create unnecessary light. I think in a community like Louisville and Superior, where we are, we are a bedroom community currently, and we're slightly changing. We're starting to change that with this downtown, but I just think we need to be thoughtful. Somebody mentioned, I'm going to use the word tasteful, but for Superior to all of a sudden have all these neon signs as you drive up the highway doesn't feel like that's what we want to be. I just can't see it. I absolutely agree that the Superior Medical externally lit sign makes a whole lot of sense. I would imagine that every business, when they're advertising their location, is that they're in the Superior Medical Center, so that when you're driving up, you're in the right place because it's Superior Medical Center, that we not put 7 signs on for every business that might end up there in the future. I think that'll just get crazy. So that's kind of where I stand on the signs.
So just a quick reminder to commissioners. I just wanted to point you to the criteria that you all are looking at. This would be the 161040B. This is actually included within the cover letter itself. So kind of the scope of your review is, you can look, there's 1 through 4 factors. The first one points out that approval is contingent on, prior to approving an FDP, Planning Commission shall find that the FDP is consistent with the PD plan and all other town ordinances and regulations. So kind of in other words, if there was anything of a recommendation, that was an approval, you would essentially have to articulate how the FDP is not consistent with the PD plan or other town ordinances and regulations. Then the second point, the second provision states that, however, the Planning Commission may approve an FDP which has been modified to reflect improvements in design or changes. And this is kind of what was laid out by Stephen in the cover letter itself. So in other words, the first provision requires that the Planning Commission find that the FDP is consistent with the PD plan, and then the second one gives you the discretion to approve the FDP if it's been modified to reflect improvements. So I just wanted to kind of point out that that's kind of the scope of your review, and depending on how you rule, you would kind of have to articulate, either way, how that falls into those criteria.
Can you help us with that, or?
Can I guess I'm kind of curious as to where from what I'm hearing, I guess I'm hearing that the medical office signage seems supportable, and that the Superior Medical Center sign, both on the office and the parking garage, seems supportable. The concerns I've heard from you guys tonight are all related to the lighted signs on the parking garage. Is that correct, or is there something?
And the number I think the number of signs. There's probably a mix.
And the lighted signs on the parking garage.
I think we have a mix.
But the office itself is okay? The medical building itself, the signage, or is
Superior Medical Center?
I think I've heard.
I said that, but I'm not sure you were there. I'm not sure you would have liked it.
No, I'm okay with Superior Medical Center externally lit sign.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's signs, right? There's 3 of them. Are there 3 of them? How many?
3 on 2 elevations and 2 on another.
Yeah, so it's not just one, just so we're clear when we're talking about this, because what I was talking about originally is the sign that faces 36, so we could get the awareness. But I think when we say this, we're talking about all the 80-foot signs that are Superior Medical on the parking garage, on the medical center.
You're happy with all of those?
No, I don't. I was happy with the one facing 36.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really focus on the other ones.
Yeah,
because I didn't know we were going to try to I don't know if we're trying to piecemeal.
Let me step back then. I guess what your guys' options are is to send them back to make some changes based on direction you guys have. You guys could simply deny it. or recommend denial to planning commission or to the town board, excuse me, or you can recommend some sort of conditions to add to the approval. So that's where I'm kind of getting at, is just to try to get an understanding of what you're supportive of versus what you're not supportive of, and then be able to give the applicant either clarification and direction to go back and make changes or to condition it to move forward to, because either way, I mean, if you're going to make a recommendation of denial or you're making a condition recommendation or you're just recommending approval, it's going to the board for a final determination. So you could ask them to make changes and come back and present it to you to re-review, based off of, whatever direction, or you can just give them that direction and they can take that to the board. Is that making sense?
Can we do that since we've closed the public hearing, or no? We can? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can essentially just
You can do it through
continue.
conditions if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could, like Stephen said, you could approve it and then include conditions as part of your recommendation to the Board of Trustees.
Well, I know we can do that. There was a comment made about sending them back to review it and come back to us, but we can't do that with a closed public hearing, can we?
Yeah, I mean...
Or we can?
I don't know why you couldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, potentially you could continue.
To begin with, we're just making recommendations.
Yeah.
So we could.
But we have the ability to not move it forward, right?
Well, I mean, you could continue the public hearing if you think that there's additional information that could be, included as part of it.
Gotcha.
But I mean, essentially what you're doing is you're making a recommendation on this application to the Board of Trustees.
That's why I kind of started with the first part, is to try to get our heads around what you guys are supportive of versus what you're not supportive of, and then give that clarification.
Yeah,
I'll say,
try to get that, see if we are.
Well, I think the one thing that we shouldn't pass over, I think Commissioner Harper really pointed out something that at least I don't understand either, is this is 60,000 of 377,000 square feet. And for whatever we do here, I'm not going to say that we have to follow it, but surely people are going to put it in our face that says, hey, you approved this for the Superior Medical Center. Why are you not going to approve this? And so I would be really, I would suggest, if it was up to me, I would say we table this and we as the Planning Commission come up with guidelines, as you articulated really well, I think, of what we want down there. And maybe, Stephen, maybe you're going to tell us they exist somewhere, but it seems like it seems like they exist. Every building comes with a different set, and I don't totally understand it.
So I think that you have to look at this on a site-specific development application, and you can't, I mean, we're not reopening the PD design guidelines or the PD. That's not for consideration now. I think that, Commissioner Harper's identified that, it's not terribly clear, and really the only regulations for signage for an office building are for 25 square feet around building entrances. And so we've discussed this, over the years, just the scope of the PD is very broad, and I don't think that I think that its intent was to be completely comprehensive, but it hasn't, it's fell short of that on a number of occasions where we have to come in and discuss whether or not it's appropriate for this location. Like a 25 square foot sign in a mixed use building on a main street where you have, maybe a Jamba Juice on one, as part of the building, and then next you have a law office. 25 square feet is probably appropriate there, but for a building of this size, if 25 square feet was all we had to sign the Superior Medical Center, it would be deficient.
I'm sorry, Steve. And evaluating, and looking at the evidence for a public hearing, you would look at what has been presented to you, today, and applying the factors that are in play.
So I think Dan's point in referencing the criteria is that if you're going to recommend denial or clarify that you can't recommend approval, you need to cite why. And,
Well, they're not in conformance with the PD, right?
Correct.
I mean, we could just say that, right? Because they're bringing something that's not in conformance with the PD.
Correct. You'd have to articulate how it was not.
Well, the 7 additional signs, the size of the signs, the location of the sign. I mean, it's everything that they put in the proposal that they're asking for variance on, right?
Correct. No, it wouldn't be difficult. Yeah. But I think that the question is that are those PD design, I mean, are you really wanting to hold them to that and send them back to, where the parking garage is the only thing that's actually advertised on the parking garage? And because that's really what the PD kind of allows. And we already have 3 signs that were approved through the FDP the first time for the parking garage. So it's not like we can go back and hold it. We can hold it to the FDP for sure, what we've already approved. But, so that's And you're certainly within your realm, but I guess I'm hearing two different things. You could certainly say that it doesn't conform, just strictly deny it, but I'm also hearing that you have support for certain elements of it, so that's what I'm trying to
I agree, but I was hearing that we need to come up with this justification, and to me, the justification is doesn't agree. Yes, I think it's clear that we want to work with them and try to make something that's somewhere in between what they have now and what they've asked for.
Correct.
But I don't think we know. I don't think I know that right now. That's
Yeah,
my comment.
I'm hearing that the internally lit signs we're all opposed to, I think with head nods. That there's a few of us who are generally opposed to the number of signs, the quantity of signs on the building, but a couple of us weren't. I think I heard that. And that many of us were supportive of the of the downlit medical center sign on 36, but then you're right, I don't know that we're all thinking about how many of those there were. Are there three of those? And so that raises a question in my mind to have three of those, that size of a sign around that, on every side of that building. But I'm open to discussing that a little bit. So I think those are, what's that? Yes, you can only see one at a time. That's true. So depends on what angle you're coming in.
Yeah.
Well, there's a fourth side, isn't there?
So. But then there's this element where, it's not our job to figure out how this medical building gets people to their building. We have lots of ideas. You mentioned the highway signs, and I could suggest a marquee, out there that's maybe not quite as different. There's lots of ideas, but that's really, that's not our responsibility to. We can throw that out there, but it's not really our responsibility to tell them how to get people to their building. But if we look at this and say this isn't okay,
I think
and send them back. So.
The applicant himself said, particularly I think the signs on the parking garage are for some healthcare company to come in and plant a flag in the region. That's advertising, that's not wayfinding.
Right.
Did you say on the parking garage, that's advertising?
Yeah.
Except that I'm sorry, Ben. Commissioner Miller, do you mean the backlit signs for the future tenants or the Superior Medical Buildings?
Yeah, if there's a new medical provider in town, they would love to have a neon lit sign on that parking garage to advertise to this entire community they're here.
Boulder Community Health does.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they have the urgent care sign that got put up there. Right?
But they also have, on the north side of that sign, there is a sign that says Boulder Community Health too.
Okay. Yeah, so the question is, does every tenant get a neon sign? It's going to look like, it's...
Well, and what happens when tenants change?
Yeah, and as tenants change, and yeah.
So I think in all fairness to this applicant, we need to find a way to ask them to come back with some modified version of this application because there are elements that I think we all support, and I know that I support, mainly being the 80 square foot Tier 1 sign that they're proposing on the three sides of the building. I support that. I think that that's needed for that building.
That goes on and off 30 minutes prior to and...
No, it's a downlit sign, so yes. So that one. They already have some backlit signs on the building, and I don't think that we're going to ask them to take that away. But I personally don't feel like I can approve additional signage similar to that. But I think that there is a need for signage in this building and for their tenants, and I do hear that. And I think that we need to find a way to help them figure that out. So
And that's where I slightly disagree. I don't think it's our responsibility to figure that out. I think we can tell them having neon lit signs facing residential areas across the highway or facing original town or facing the backside across the new developments that are coming in. I think we have a responsibility to tell them that that's not okay, but to come back and think we could actually figure out what the right thing is to do seems beyond our scope.
And that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying that we need to figure out how to light the building or put signage there, but we need to figure out how to help them comply with the PD that we can approve and move forward with.
When staff could help them with that, I would imagine, right? But
Yeah, no, if I've confused the conversation, I apologize. If you were going to condition this for the board, that you were supportive of, just for the sake of argument, the tier 1 signs on the parking garage, and you were supportive of an additional sign, a tier 2 sign or tier 3 sign, I guess they are, but not the 3 and not lit. They all needed to be downlit or something like that. We could get to a point where we could condition a recommendation for the board to consider. If you feel like it's the applicant's responsibility, you don't really know what, if you can't get to that level of detail to provide direction on, then maybe you just need to kick it back to the applicant and tell them that this is too much and that, your main concern is lighting on US 36 or lighting on the parking garage.
How do we do that? I closed the public hearing. They can't come back and do another presentation. The public hearing is closed. And I've had this discussion with you, Dan, 2 meetings ago about this, and I haven't gotten guidance back on it, but how can are we allowed, I can't reopen the public hearing and have them come and do a presentation and get public comment again, right?
I mean, we've closed the public comment portion, so we're still in the public hearing itself. I mean, you can potentially continue the public hearing. They can, make a modification. If the idea is that you want further information, you can continue the public hearing itself. They can come back with more information. We can kind of take it from there.
So then why can't I do that in a given meeting? I mean, I couldn't ask them to come up right now and present farther. I've closed that. Didn't I close the public hearing? I mean, I can't have them.
Well, you closed it you've closed it, so now it's in the discussion phase. But right. I think you can kind of continue it and then allow them to come back and present further evidence if there is a need for further evidence.
Okay. I mean, if we're allowed to, if we have that option, I'm open to.
I don't know why you wouldn't
doing that.
The board closes their public meeting, deliberates, and then has directed the applicant to come back with so.
No, yeah, I'm just struggling with. And I'm happy to have further discussion and see if we can help provide them guidance on what we're thinking. If that helps them any.
It sounds like, from what I'm hearing, that all of the commissioners are against the additional backlit signs beyond what's there at the moment. And it sounds like there's support for the 3 Tier 1 Superior Medical Center signs. Would it make sense to try and agree that we agree on those elements?
I think that's
well,
fine, but I think
it's a matter of what end,
back, right? We can. I think I agree with exactly what you said, but then
is that what we think we are looking for?
I think we are. I would like to see them come back and, based on the recommendations we give them, come back with a proposal. I'm okay with approving the 3 big signs. If we said that and come back with the rest, but I don't know if we can do something like that.
That's what I guess I'm trying to clarify is if you wanted to, you can kick this to the board for a decision. You can make your recommendation, clarify your concerns. That's one option. Your other option is to have them come back and give them either the latitude to come back with something different along US 36. We can go through their proposal again just to make sure everyone has their head around exactly how many signs are proposed everywhere. If you have some concerns, I'm hearing people say 3 Tier 1 signs. There's 2 on the parking garage, and there's 2 proposed for the medical office building. So there's.
I wouldn't mind. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that. So that's.
Yeah, just so that we're clear, this is the one facing south. So this would face directly towards the sports stable. This is the parking garage over here, and this is the the skywalk that gets you there. So this faces directly to the sports stable. This is at the. This is.
So let's hold on that for a minute. I don't think I have a problem with the south-facing sign. Does anybody have an issue if they want to put that there?
It's really a request for one additional sign. It's a Tier 2 size sign that's 50 square feet. This Tier 3 sign is already approved.
Okay. So that's the Superior Medical Center.
No, it's not a sign.
No, it's not. This is a tier 2 sign for another tenant.
Oh, for another tenant. Got it. Okay, sorry. That's okay. Sorry. Okay, that's
for a
what
larger scale tenant.
Okay.
But it faces,
So that's an internally lit sign.
It's an internally lit sign.
All right. Thank you.
I still object to that one.
Yeah, I'm concerned. I'm concerned about all the internally lit signs. But anyway, okay, continue on.
Okay. The only other thing I guess I'd add here is I don't have the same point as I would as I did on the garage signs. Like this sign isn't stacked like the other 3 stacked signs are on the garage. So this could be a downlit sign here, and it would have the same lighting capacity as what's proposed for the medical center sign. So that's another option. Facing west, directly towards Superior Drive, they're proposing 2 signs, one of the tier 1s and then an additional tier 2. That's a 50 square foot internally illuminated sign facing McCaslin. They already have approval for the tier 3 sign here.
Okay. And that's about 2 stories up, and that's 1, 2. The top is third story and 4th story.
Above the 3rd, below the 4th, and the other one's above the 4th.
Above the 4th. Okay.
Correct. The other sign, on the parking or on the medical office building would be north, and this is the furthest west. So this is the northwest corner. This is where the skywalk that connects you to the parking garage. So on this side, there you have your other tier 1 downlit sign, and you have a second tier 2 sign.
And those are the ones facing Louisville residents, right?
This is facing north, not east. Like I think the most impactful signs face east.
Toward the park.
This would face, and you'd be able to see this from the Element Hotel. You'd be able to see it from the plaza, and you probably have some visibility from the highway just based on the trajectory kind of going northwest. And then getting to the parking garage, there is a approved sign location here, not for this size, but this is the tier 1 sign that's proposed on the north side of the building. And then this is the tier 1 sign proposed on the east side of the building. And those are the 2 that I hear you have support for, but I want to make sure that we have a total accurate number, that there's 2 on the parking garage and 2 on the medical building. And then tier 3 would be the 3 signs that are underneath the approved locations already. So those signs I'm not hearing any support for, lit at least, and then little, if no support for them in general in both of these locations.
I think there are only 3 proposed Superior Medical Center signs, aren't there?
No.
One's already approved, right?
No.
There's one urgent care one at the moment.
No, the urgent care is right here. It's right above this one. So this is proposed.
That's 1, yeah.
This is 2.
That's 2.
And then you go back to the medical office building. You have 1 on the north side
That's
and
3.
1 proposed on the west side.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I can't count.
The west one's the one that's directly facing Sports Stable, right?
No, the west one directly faces the west. So this
that faces. I'm sorry. That faces McCaslin.
There is no tier 1 sign facing south of the Sports Stable. So
yeah.
But these are going to be. I mean, if we had an image of what you're going to see inside between the 2 buildings, I don't know that this is going to be that visible from anything except for when you're in downtown on Superior Drive. So
yeah.
And did we agree on those signs that they'd all be turned on and off 30 minutes before and after dark?
Which sign are you talking about? The applicant has agreed to do that for all of the signs.
All of the signs.
Well, he was going to check with the hospital.
Well, all of the proposed signs. And then he'd consider
that he would ask urgent care about the urgent care. That would be the tenant.
Yeah.
I would support that because having a medical building that's lit when it's closed, that seems counter.
Is your microphone on, David?
I'm sorry, yes. I would support that because having a medical building that's lit as if it's open when it's actually closed seems contrary to the intention of the signage.
something.
This might seem tedious, but if we could go through that again and maybe go through,
we could go through
slide by slide and say if we approve of some of the signage there or not, and then maybe have the applicant come back up with an opportunity to address that.
Now or in the future?
Now.
Well, I think yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I can't do that.
He doesn't really have anything to present. I mean, he'd have to go back. I mean, my gut says, yes, let's do what you're suggesting and ask the applicant to go back after listening to public comment, after listening to our discussion, and come back and make a recommendation. He can come back and recommend the same thing, and then we can make our final decision, but hopefully he'll come back and recognize the concerns we have and, come back with something we all appreciate and like, but I agree with you. So let's do this.
Do each one by one elevation. I think I heard from you guys.
Give us what we're looking at. South. This is south.
This is south. This is the medical office building. There's one Boulder Community Health sign already up and approved, and there's another Tier 3 sign kind of mirroring that on the opposite end. That is approved already, so you're only really considering the Tier 2 sign.
So that's a Tier 2 tenant.
Tenant sign, internally illuminated, 50 square feet on the south building elevation.
And is that generally a no? We're not in favor of those?
And that the Tier 1 sign is already approved?
We're not there yet. Doesn't exist on that elevation.
Proposed.
Okay.
Just a Tier,
So is this the side that faces the sports table?
Correct.
Yeah, the Tier 3s are approved.
No.
Right? No.
Yes. The Tier 3s for that facade
are already approved.
Are already approved.
Tier 2 is the new one.
Yep.
That's what we were saying no. We were all kind of saying a head nod to no on all
The
those.
Tier 3s can be illuminated, internally lit, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. Are they just smaller?
Yes.
So it's kind of a good point. There is no provision within the PD to restrict the illumination of the signs, just if they're compliant. There are, something that was assumed that would occur within downtown, lighted signs. So
could I request that you note that in our, whatever we report to the board, that hasn't been addressed, that signs can be illuminated. We don't have anything saying they can't, just so we know this going forward, that's just clear.
Correct. Sure.
Can we get that communicated from the Planning Commission to the board? Okay, because I think that needs to be really clear whether I'd really rather approve that on a case-by-case basis, and I'm guessing the board would want to do the same. It just hasn't been thought about. But okay, all right, so Tier 3, okay, so I think we're all kind of head nodding that the Tier 2 additional sign internally illuminated is not something we're thrilled about on paper, right? Okay.
So are you okay with the sign that's not illuminated, or are you okay with the sign that's downlit, or do you just want to leave it as you don't support it?
Could we make it downlit?
On this south elevation?
Yep, facing the sports table.
I wouldn't have a problem with it being downlit on the south elevation. I might have problems on other elevations. It's going to be a little weird, but
I agree. After driving over there, I don't have a problem with that on that side, because it's almost like an alley you're driving through there.
Almost, yeah. So
I would agree with that. I think that the improvements on this side are actually improvements, and
I don't support it.
those.
I'd like to see. I would expect the applicant to come back with some scheme for the whole building. I'd rather they had a scheme for the whole building rather than picking signs.
I think we could say that, he can hear, they're paying attention, and I'm sure they're taking notes. So they can see that there is some support for, something. I'd like to see something smaller too. I'd rather that be a Tier 3 sign myself, but, and a little bit smaller. But, yes, I agree with you, David. So we probably don't need to, we can give it a little head nod. I don't know if we can take it to as far as approval, but.
And then the west elevation has the Tier 1 at the top, and then a Tier 2 below it. That's, again,
Those are
Externally
both
downlit,
new.
illuminated, and internally illuminated. This one, again, is already.
Tier 1 is facing McCaslin.
Correct.
Does face Original Town, and we'll tell you that. We're a little worried about the element. Not sure what's going to show up on the element when we're standing in our neighbor's yard and we're looking right at the Element Hotel. I'm guessing we're going to have some bright lights shining at us, but I don't think a downlit, an externally downlit sign will be a big problem. I'm not too concerned about it, but everybody okay with that?
Yeah. Well, I think that's a useful sign.
I do too.
Yeah, no,
It's a
I would
great
agree.
sign. It's a great
So
sign.
Tier 1 west
Especially being
elevation.
downlit.
Yep.
So,
Tier 1 downlit we were okay with.
okay.
And then the Tier 2, though, we're not. Right? That's,
Not as internally illuminated, right?
I don't think we
Which is
like
not
it
at
at
all.
all.
You know, well, on the south side of the building, the Tier 2 sign for the tenant, I'm okay with as long as it's downlit. That keeps the light pollution in that area.
Yeah, we
It doesn't
haven't
shine, because that's going to shine over into Original Town. That's where it's facing.
not the west one.
McCaslin. It's facing McCaslin.
Well, the lower
Yeah, that's
facing
west. That's west, right? Yeah, the west.
That
You're talking
faces
about west.
Original Town.
Yeah.
Facing McCaslin, Original Town.
Yep.
Just like you saw the sports stable circular logo gleaming.
Yeah, I
We don't
wouldn't want that to be a backward. No,
gleaming. So
absolutely
if
not.
it's-
So if it's downlit, maybe, yeah. But I'm still with David. It's, coming back with a package that doesn't impact the residents. I think we are saying that it's important to have the Superior Community Medical sign, these individual tenant signs. I think we have mixed. I think we have maybe might even be 4-2 or 5-3.
For me, larger tenants, I think that they deserve those signs. They pay for those signs. So I'm actually fine with those. Where I have concern are the row signs that are stacked and that are on the...
So even internally lit, Tier 2 facing Original Town? Or downlit?
No, I think a downlit sign.
Downlit. Yeah, so I think we have mixed. I think we have a mixed on the downlit.
Okay.
I don't think there's a mix of.
But for sure, if I was going to get swayed, to me it would be a Tier 3 size versus a Tier 2.
A smaller one,
A smaller one, like the other one in the corner. I'm still not totally sold on it, but I wouldn't be sold on the Tier 2 at all. If it was a Tier 3, maybe. I'm not sure why we differentiate the size of two tenants in there.
Yeah, no, I can, yeah.
And I get it, one's larger maybe than the other, but
still, yeah.
I find myself wondering what buildings are going to be across the street
And
from
in
this
front of
medical
it, yeah.
center, because it's not residential, I don't think.
Could be.
It could be. It's
Could
mixed
be
use.
apartments, it could be mixed use, could be, yeah. It's
And then,
undetermined.
okay, well, see, that kind of changed my big. If you're going to tell me it's just all commercial across the street, then I'm not too worried about the signs on
No, it could be residential above commercial. Yeah, and that's another concern, right? I mean, we've got to be thinking about what we're doing here. I mean, even to the, God, I can't keep my directions straight.
West.
It's a new development up by,
south.
yeah, to the south.
Oh, yeah.
Have to
Oh,
be
to
deeply
the-
concerned,
to the
right?
left.
I mean, yeah, I mean, even this big
Yeah,
Superior Community Medical sign that's downlit is going to be right in their face. I mean, I get it's probably not going to shine in their back window and keep them awake, but you're sitting on your back deck. My poor sister, I had no idea. I was sitting there looking at where there's this FedEx building that's just all parking lot lit. It's horrible. It's an eyesore, and it doesn't. It sucks for the people who live there who have to just sit on their back patio and look at it. It just isn't fair. It just isn't. It isn't okay. I mean, I think signage is okay, but boy, if people are having to stare at this thing, it's yeah. So
I'm hearing you like to look at
maybe Tier 3 might be better on some of these
smaller signs
and
possibly,
downlit and
possibly
definitely not
downlit,
neon.
but not
Yeah.
internally illuminated.
All right.
For the Tier 2 signs.
So that's west, southwest. Okay.
And I assume it's the same for this, unless you feel
Which one is
differently
this?
about
This
this
is the-
elevation. This is the north elevation, so it's the northwest corner. Whether or not you support the Tier 1 sign with the downcast lighting, and then they also have a Tier 2 sign.
And see, like the Tier 2 on this one, it's facing the highway. So again, it's not like someone's driving by and trying to find that and look at that. So I see this more of an advertisement versus a wayfinding sign.
Yeah, that doesn't feel important.
That's just my.
I just say no on but I don't know what other commissioners think. So this is facing the highway. mean, I would support if that tenant could move it around to the other side of the building where you saw it from the parking lot. That would make more sense.
But that's where we already.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's for the same tenant, though. We don't know what tenant it's for, right? I mean,
good call.
We don't know what they're going to do with their approvals, right? That's you know. So just so they can hear that, I'd be more supportive if that tenant sign were facing the parking lot and was a tier 3 and downlit, smaller sign, you know, but we have head nods on that, or we?
Yeah, see, I think the location of that one kind of will give protection to the neighbors, and also is not obstructive. And I don't really necessarily have concern about that one, simply because of the location of the building. I think it's far enough west to provide some cover for neighbors.
And how's it covered?
Well, because it's, you know, based on the photographs that we saw earlier, I don't think that this is going to be visible for those residents because of how west that.
I mean, because of those trees?
From October until March it will be, though.
Yeah, as soon as those trees drop their leaves, it'll be,
I think
pretty bright.
Yeah, I think even then it's still.
This is the one that faces north.
Side of,
Yeah, this is the north side of
you. This faces north.
Looking at this is
So we're
North Chicago.
No, north that way.
Yeah. Oh, the people at Old Chicago.
I guess again it goes with the belief that I have that, and it really shouldn't be my concern necessarily, but larger tenants that come in are going to want some signage there, and I think that if a tenant is renting an entire floor, that they deserve to have their name on the building like that. But I don't think it needs to be internally lit.
I'd support a tier 3 downlit. I mean, still the size of these tier 2s concerns me, but yeah, I mean, I could support a tier 3.
I'd second that.
Downlit. So you got mixed support on whether, but downlit for sure by everybody. Okay.
Downlit and all off 30 minutes after, right? All lights.
I think that's a given for anything we can.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that it gets written into
this stuff is off.
Yep.
Yeah, and I would love it if they would do the same for the existing too, but if they can. So.
Okay.
All right, and then we have the east. Is that the last one?
The last two facades that we have to consider are the parking garage, and I think you guys have already kind of clarified where you're at with the. You're supportive of the medical center sign being downlit, and you're not supportive of
stack signs.
Stack signs, but I don't know if you're supportive of any signage or.
I'm not.
Isn't there an urgent care above that, though?
Urgent
care
is
over
right
on
here.
it's on the, yeah.
Can you see
what's above the other 10?
This one right here is Boulder Community Health.
Okay, but that's going to stay, right?
That's approved already.
Approved.
So those two are existing. Yeah.
So they already have two. There's already two on there of the big
one
tenants.
facing east, one facing north.
Right.
Or one facing north, excuse me, and one facing east.
Right. So I mean, of the tenants, there, two of them already have a sign.
Yeah. I think we're opposed to the stack signs.
Well, it'd be another, I mean, then you'd be giving 5 tenants in that building.
Oh my goodness, yeah, you'd have a ton of signage.
Right, I mean, it's just.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
And we're in support of the Superior Medical Center downlit. So,
I would say yes.
Yes.
I mean, to Mr. Rosenfeld's point, I understand the value of these signs to potential tenants. Sure. But it's getting more into advertising, like Commissioner Harper has stated, than into wayfinding or saying that we're here.
Yeah. I mean, you've got to look around this area. We're not seeing this. This is not going on. This is not going on in the corridor. It's not going on in Boulder. I mean, there are signs on buildings. Some of them are externally lit. Some of them are not lit at all, right? Because, I mean, most of these places, I mean, I get in the wintertime, there's a few months where it's dark and they're not as visible, but there's a lot of signage that's just not lit. And we've got to live here, and we've got to look at this. We're going to have to stand and look at this for the next, these guys don't even live here, right? So, yeah, and so.
So just to clarify, so expectations are accurate. There was one sign that was approved here for their tier 3. Technically, there's 2 tier 3 signs allowed on this facade. So I assume if the medical center sign goes here, there would be an additional tier 3 sign somewhere on this facade.
Isn't there a tier 3 up there with Boulder Medical already? On the left side there?
Up there above that?
But there was 2 that were approved.
So
but
one
we're
more.
giving them the one over there, and we're making it a tier 1. So that's we can call it an exchange.
Okay.
Being very generous.
Well, I mean, but they've got a tier 3.
They have a tier 3, but they're currently approved for 2.
And this is a
what
north.
your direction would be was just to change the tier 3 approval out for a tier 1,
right?
Rather than allow another tier 3 sign.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then no on the east elevation, tier 3. Okay. Okay. We all think we're. Okay. So then our request, how does it?
Did we talk about the bottom one yet?
You're all right
Yeah, we
with the
said
medical
no
center
on
sign,
the
and
tier
you're not
3.
okay with any of the other signs?
But
That's what I
okay on the tier
understand.
1 downlit? Okay.
So the next question, I guess, is whether or not you want to see something, or do you want to give this direction to the town board to consider for their final determination?
Just from my talking of several town board members, they would really appreciate us just making sure we send them something we're happy with. And I think this would be an opportunity to let them come back and, as quickly as they can. And,
okay.
If we have any
I
other
don't like the
ideas,
idea of passing something.
I don't.
If we pass something unfinished, it feels like we're shirking our responsibility.
Yeah.
It feels like we own it. That's just.
Okay, understood. So the next question would be whether or not we table this kind of indefinitely, or we set it to a date certain. So the date certain would be our next, 1 or 2 planning commission meetings, which the next one I think is on the.
So I've been told at previous meetings I can't ask the applicant to come up after I close the public hearing, but now you're telling me I can continue it and bring them up later. So I think it's okay to bring them up here, and if they want to talk about a date certain with us, that's okay, right?
The date
Okay,
that we work
great.
on.
If you wouldn't mind chatting, coming up and and you can tell us if you want us to table it indefinitely, or if you'd like to make it a date certain, we can work with you on that. And
the next available meeting would be
October 2nd.
October 2nd, yeah. And then, or the 16th would be right after that.
Okay. So I think your choices are indefinitely 10-2, 10-16 would be the next.
Right. If you can't do 10-2 or 10-16,
then come back and tell us when you're ready.
And then the only difference to clarify is that if we table it to a date certain, we don't renotice it. So
we don't really what?
We don't have to renotice it.
Okay.
It's already been noticed, and then we've continued the meeting.
And then that makes it take longer. Okay.
That's the only thing I want you to understand is that if we table it to a date certain, we don't have to go through the notification process again. Not that it's that difficult.
That seems most smooth. And I apologize. I was talking to Bill. What are the
10-2, October 2nd or October 16th would be the next 2 available slots.
10-2 is as good day as any.
Work us a couple
weeks. Do you think you're just going to give your team enough time to respond? That's the only.
Is that a possibility?
Do you just need a couple of minutes?
Is it a possibility to? Well, I guess, what would the adjourning process be? Would we have to settle on a date?
No, he could take a quick recess and give you some time if that's.
Is that all you need? Just a short recess?
Yeah.
For you guys to talk about it? Yeah, I don't mind. We can take a short recess. Do I need to gavel us out of this or just?
Just say it's recess.
Okay. All right. We'll take 5-minute recess. What do you need? 5 minutes? 5 minutes? Okay. So we'll take a 5-minute recess and just do
Recess, I'm only bring up one thing. October 2nd could be the playoff date for the Rockies.
Okay. Wild card.
It's one game. It's no more than that. If that's what they're in.
Oh, we will.
Sorry.
Yeah, let's have it on that.
Okay, so next.
Okay, so we're going to continue. Recess is over. All right. And all right, so we were discussing possible dates for.
So October 2nd works.
Works for you.
So I look forward to coming back here. Can I say something as well?
I guess, what is concerning the scheduling or?
Yeah, it was, just to, no, it wasn't specifically about the scheduling, actually. It was more about just kind of, well, they don't get into
why don't I reopen, let me reopen the public hearing.
Yeah,
Let us get a motion to continue it, and then you're welcome to speak, and then we'll,
Do we need a motion to reopen it?
I think you can reopen it and then.
So I'm going to reopen the just so we're really clear here. So, all right. So I'm going to reopen the public hearing and adoption of a resolution approving a major final development plan amendment to allow for additional wall signs on the medical office building at 3 Superior Drive, Lot 1A, Block 12, and associated parking garage at 5 Superior Drive, Lot 1B, Block 12, which is agenda item 4. For the purpose of obtaining additional evidence from the applicant, and then we want to have a motion to continue, right? So anybody want to make a?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to continue.
Okay, a motion. Malia, and second from Harper. All in favor? All opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say your comments were heard, and look forward to coming back in a couple weeks with a win-win plan. I will say one thing is that we've, and I can't stress it enough, my responsibility and our responsibility is to build high-quality medical office buildings. Our portfolio is 97% filled across the country. We've owned this entitlement for over 18 months. We've owned the building for over a year, and we haven't signed as much as an LOI since we built the building. I'm severely concerned about its marketability, considering many things, taxes. It's in a great location. Many of the tenants that we're talking to are very interested in signage, and I hope that we can come back with a win-win solution that keeps in mind the financial viability of our project, as well as the quality of our project. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you doing that.
I have a question. I'm sorry. When the motion was made to continue the hearing, was it made to a?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't know that it was. You just made a motion to continue. Do you want
to a date?
Do you want to amend that date? Certainly.
Can I amend my continuation of the resolution of the Planning Commission? Or no?
No, the public hearing. Did you say to October 2nd?
No, he did not.
No, I did not.
Okay.
So I'd like to make a continuation to October 2nd, 2018.
Okay.
Okay. And second, still David Harper? Okay. All in favor? Okay. Anyone opposed? No. Unanimous? We're good. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for coming. And lastly, do we,
Yeah,
you have staff announcements if you have anything?
Yeah, just to touch base on the next meeting dates for the Northwest update. We'll have the update to you guys from Clarion and their team on October 16th. We will have an original town meeting on October 29th. That's a Monday. And then we will have the stakeholder meeting. And we'll need to, it's tentatively scheduled for the 13th of November. And then I just need to get feedback from you guys. I didn't realize it was a two-part question. Typically, we've had those stakeholder meetings for the marketplace constituents during the day. We've had luncheons. Do you want to continue that, or would you rather just have a typical evening meeting? We've had kind of up and down attendance to those anyway, but I do think that the lunch, my inclination is the lunch has been all right.
For which meeting? I'm sorry.
So we're doing an update for the Northwest Area Plan on the 16th, and that's just like Clarion coming back and talking to you guys.
On October 21.
And then we're going to do the outreach to the original town residents on the 29th, and then the same type of outreach, but geared towards the marketplace, is scheduled for November 13th. And the only question I have is whether or not you want it at lunch or whether or not you want it in the evening. So
Lunch works for me if it's okay with us. I know it works for the businesses. It's a tough time for some.
What works best for the stakeholders?
yeah, I think the stakeholders, I mean, and we can check, maybe I just pull that, but I think that the inclination thus far has been the lunches has been.
It's good for them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we incentivize it as well.
That was November, what, 13th? Okay.
Yeah, that's the 13th. So that was the only updates. But
On October 29th, what time? Just a normal?
that would be a normal 7
o'clock?
6:30, I guess, is when we've suggested for original town, but we could have 7 o'clock.
That's fine.
It doesn't really matter. So.
Okay.
Stephen, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
We talked about this a little bit during the session we had with the town, but do we have money to pay Clarion for the rest of the services, or do we need to get something approved? Do we have money approved for this?
I think we have financing available to get through this next, to have a recommendation for the board.
Okay.
I think if we need subsequent, actual changes to the code, and we go through that exercise, then there may be more, or if we do a PD amendment to the marketplace. But if we're really looking at code changes, or I think that they're prepared to give us recommendations, and then the implementation of that would be another phase and potentially more money. So, but we did ask for I think we kind of projected high in terms of the overall cost, and we're within that realm right now.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
It's a good question. But I did follow up with
budget meetings are going on now, so if you wanted to stick your head in. I understand we had 150K budgeted. We've used a little over 50 or so. But I don't know. That's what was last reported to me. I don't know if it's accurate, but yeah.
Well, I mean, based on the recommendations that we come up with, what was the thing? What did they call it?
Overlay district, or
an overlay district with
guidelines.
Incentives. That sounds like somebody's got to write something.
It's
yes,
absolutely true.
That would be Stephen.
I remember all that. Yeah.
Stephen and Dan are going to work on that for us.
So, I mean, presumably, would Clarion be, and I assume Clarion would be involved in writing that?
Well, to be determined, but yeah, I mean, that's the logical, next step.
No, I'm sorry,
we might have to do like an RFP.
I'm not trying to prejudge this, but I mean, since they've...
Correct.
I just wanted to make sure there's enough money to... I mean, there is going to be a follow-on step after the recommendation.
There would be a follow-on step, but Commissioner McCool's kind of indicating that, we go to budget every year around this time and ask for, a certain budget for certain things, and we had $150,000 for the exercise that we're currently within. Okay. We need more budget dedicated for the next step, but presumably if we're making recommendations and the board's approving those recommendations, then we'll follow through with the next step, and that budget will be allocated. But,
okay.
But not a bad idea to pay attention to the budget conversation that's currently ongoing, and making sure that doesn't fall through the cracks. So.
Anything else?
That's it for me.
Any questions for anybody? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you. Thank you for coming.